The coffee machine made that high-pitched whine again. The one that meant it was spitting steam instead of actual coffee. I stared at the blinking red light like it had personally wronged me. It was 7:05 on a Monday. The break room was still dim, the blinds half closed, and just outside that door, my name was already being erased off the whiteboard. 3 days ago, I was still the team lead for inventory analytics at Norval Systems. Today? I wasn't even sure what my title was. There hadn't been a memo, no announcement, just a 10-minute meeting with my manager, Eric, and a vague new task on my calendar. Onboard Dylan, Monday 9 a.m. That's how I found out. I'm 39. Not that it should matter, but it does. When you're the guy who's been here the longest, who built the tracking system from scratch, who stayed through the layoffs, through the 2020 mess, and again, when corporate tried to offshore our whole division to Mumbai and failed miserably. They used to call me the quiet backbone. Not in front of me, of course, but I overheard it once at the Christmas party. That stuck with me. Now I was standing in the same break room I'd installed the air purifier in last year, on my own dime, drinking bitter half-steamed coffee from a chipped mug that still had my old title printed on it, Josh Delaney, Senior Ops Analyst, Team Lead. A title I guess I no longer held. The thing about being demoted quietly is that it leaves a lot of room for doubt. There's no formal severance of role, no HR-signed document, just the slow removal of responsibilities, one shared folder at a time. At first, I thought I was just imagining it. 2 weeks ago, I noticed Eric had stopped CCing me on cross-team updates. Then it was the dashboard permissions. Then the monthly performance review cycle got handed to someone else. And now this. I was supposed to train Dylan, a kid straight out of university, who apparently held the job I thought was still mine. 9 o'clock. I stood by the conference room table, hand resting on the back of the chair like it anchored me to the floor. The monitor on the wall showed my shared desktop, already queued up with the training doc I had written. I'd written it last year, when onboarding was still my job. Dylan walked in 5 minutes late. No apology, wearing white earbuds and sipping some energy drink that looked radioactive. He gave me a nod like we were equals. "Hey, you must be Josh," he said. "Eric said you'd get me up to speed." I forced a smile. "Yep, welcome aboard." He dropped his bag into the chair, slumped, and said, "So how much of this am I actually going to use?" It wasn't a malicious question, just dumb, young, arrogant in that way people get when they haven't failed publicly yet. "Hopefully all of it," I said, flipping to the first slide. "This system handles all internal fulfillment routing, so if you miss a step, shipping backs up by 2 days." He blinked. "Oh, that sounds serious." "It is." By noon, he'd interrupted me 6 times to check his phone. By 2, he asked if he could leave early, said he had an appointment. I nodded, told him we'd pick up tomorrow. As he walked out, Eric appeared in the hallway, all business casual charm. He had that look, the just checking in smirk managers use when they're pretending to care. He knocked on the glass. "How's Dylan doing?" he asked, like this was a regular check-in, like he hadn't just demoted me without a word. "Still green, so," I said, "but he'll get there." Eric nodded, hands in his pockets. "Yeah, he's sharp, brings a lot of fresh energy." I didn't say anything. He lingered. "Listen, I meant to loop you in on some title updates. They're still finalizing the org chart. Just a formality." Right. A formality. That was the word he chose. That night I sat in the dark with my laptop open, trying to find a way to explain what I was feeling. Not rage, not grief, just something heavier, like erosion. My wife Emily walked in with a glass of water, eyed me from the doorway. "You're doing it again," she said. "Doing what?" "That thing, where you pretend everything's fine, and then suddenly don't talk for a week." I took the glass, grateful, guilty. Did I get demoted if no one says the word? She crossed her arms. Did your responsibilities get taken? Yeah. Did someone else get your job? Yeah. Then yeah, babe, you got demoted. I stared at the screen. And they want me to train the guy who replaced me. She didn't laugh, didn't joke, just walked over and kissed the top of my head. You're better than this place, she said quietly. You always have been. But here's the thing. I didn't want to be better than it. I wanted to belong to it. I wanted the work I'd poured years into to mean something, to stay. Day 2 of training. Dylan showed up earlier this time, wore a different shirt, still no notebook. I pushed through the modules, inventory, routing logic, the whole system I'd designed, piece by piece. At one point he said, "Dude, this is actually kinda genius." I nodded. He went on, "Wait, you made this whole flow?" "Yeah." He gave me a look. "So why am I doing your job now?" I paused. It was the first moment he'd acknowledged it. "No idea," I said, flipping to the next slide. He didn't ask again. That afternoon I got a calendar invite. Meeting Eric plus HR time, Thursday 10:30 a.m. Subject, role clarification. My stomach dropped. I didn't tell Emily, not yet. Instead, I went for a walk after dinner, around the block twice. The sky was navy blue, cloudless. Streetlights clicked on one by one. I passed the same cracked sidewalk square I'd tripped over a year ago, coming home late from a budget cycle. Meeting. I remembered the way Emily had laughed, how I'd scraped my palm and she cleaned it with this ridiculous cartoon Band-Aid. And now, I was 39, training my replacement, pretending to care about a system they no longer trusted me to lead. I walked slower on the second loop. Thursday, 10:29. I sat outside HR, staring at the frosted glass door. I could hear Eric's voice through the wall, light and practiced. I looked down at my notebook. The top page had a small doodle from Dylan, a triangle with eyes and legs, and the words, "Thanks for the brain dump," scribbled beneath it. I didn't know whether to smile or tear it out. The receptionist poked her head out. "They're ready for you." I stood, straightened my shirt, walked in. The conference room had a fake ficus plant in the corner and the same stale air freshener it had back when I first interviewed here 12 years ago. I remember noticing it then, that artificial citrus smell that somehow made things feel even more sterile. Eric sat to my left, already flipping through a printout I couldn't quite see. Across from me was Denise from HR, a woman who always wore gray like it was part of her job description. She smiled in that HR way, all practiced calm and open posture. "Josh," she said, "thanks for coming in." Like I had a choice. I nodded. "Of course." Eric didn't look up. There was a moment, just a second, where I thought maybe this was all a misunderstanding, that they'd say there was a reorg and my new title was something fancier, or that Dylan was part of a separate initiative and I'd still be overseeing everything. Some part of me, the naive part, still hoped. Denise began. "So I wanted to clarify a few things regarding your current scope and reporting line." Scope, reporting line, corporate code for "you're being moved." She slid a printed paper toward me. At the top was my name, Joshua Delaney position, senior analyst, individual contributor. I stared at it. The team lead title was gone. No mention of supervisory duties, no direct reports. The word individual might as well have been underlined twice. Eric chimed in. "With the department growing, we wanted to ensure our structure allows for upward mobility across the new talent pool. Dylan's onboarding is part of that." I blinked. "So I've been demoted?" "No, not demoted. Denise said quickly, almost too quickly. Your compensation remains unchanged, and you're still a key part of the analytics function. But I'm no longer leading the team. There was a pause, that heavy HR pause, where they wait to see if you're about to blow up. Eric leaned forward. Josh, this was about bandwidth. You've been stretched thin. This lets you focus on what you're best at, the systems, no management distractions. Distractions. They talked for 10 more minutes about how titles aren't everything, how leadership isn't always about hierarchy, how this new arrangement is more sustainable. I heard every word, and none of it. At the end, Denise said, "We'll update the internal directory this week. Let us know if you have any concerns." I almost laughed. That weekend, I didn't talk much. Emily noticed. Saturday morning, she made pancakes and brought them to the couch where I was watching a documentary I wasn't actually following. She handed me a plate. "You gonna tell me what they said?" I stared at the syrup sliding down the side. They made it official. She didn't ask what that meant. She already knew. I said, "I'm now a senior analyst. No direct reports, no oversight, same pay." She sat down next to me and rested her chin on my shoulder. "That's horse." I exhaled. "Yeah." We didn't talk about it much after that. Sometimes when something hurts enough, you both just silently agree to let it sit for a while, unspoken. Instead, we went to the grocery store, picked up cheap wine, argued about which frozen pizza to get. It was our version of normal, and I needed it. But that night, when I was brushing my teeth, I heard her on the phone with her sister. She didn't say much, but I caught 3 words through the door. They blindsided him. Monday. Week 2 of Dylan's onboarding. I logged into my email and saw a shared doc invite titled Updated Knowledge Transfer Plan, Dylan J. It had Eric's name as the author. The doc had 6 bullet points. All of them were tasks I used to own. System logic ownership, reporting calendar delivery, fulfillment queue, rotation, back order exception, tracking, holiday protocol overrides, emergency reroute planning. Each bullet had a note beside it, Josh to walk through this week. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I opened Slack. I typed a message to Eric. "Hey, saw the doc. Happy to help with the walkthroughs. Just curious, are any of these staying with me long term?" I hit send. Waited. Nothing. 5 minutes. 10. Finally, a reply. "Let's circle back next week. Appreciate you handling this." No answer. Just thanks for handing off your legacy to a stranger. That afternoon, I was showing Dylan the back order logic, one of the trickiest parts of our system. When he leaned back and said, "Dude, this is insane. How did you even come up with this?" I didn't respond. He went on, "I mean, they're lucky you're still here. If I built this, I'd be like, pay me twice or I'm out." It wasn't flattery, just a dumb, honest comment from someone who didn't know how things worked yet. I gave him a tight smile. "That's not how it works here." Wednesday. I came in to find my desk had been moved. Not across the building, just rotated, away from the main team cluster, facing the window. My nameplate was gone. Instead, a post-it note, desk, reassignment to accommodate layout refresh, facilities. That word again. Reassignment. I sat down and stared at my monitor. The screen felt further away somehow. Or maybe I did. Later that day, I caught Eric in the hallway. "Hey," I said. "Got a second?" He paused, then nodded. "Sure. What's up?" I noticed the desk change. "Yeah, we're trying to make more space near the team pod. Figured you'd appreciate the quieter spot." "Did you ask anyone?" He shrugged. "It's just logistics, Josh." I wanted to say more. Ask if logistics was also the reason I was training a kid to inherit everything I'd built. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "Got it," and walked away. Friday. Dylan made a mistake in the system, a big one. He pushed a batch of exceptions without tagging the downstream logic, which meant shipping thought we were fulfilling items we didn't even have in stock. Chaos. Fulfillment called me, not him. I fixed it. Quietly. No one else noticed. Later, I gently brought it up. Hey, just a heads up. When you're doing batch overrides, you have to hit the tag queue button first. Oh, crap. That was me? Yeah, no big deal. Just keep it in mind. He looked genuinely embarrassed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to screw it up. I nodded. It's all right. That's why we double check. He leaned back. You ever think about leaving? That caught me off guard. What? I mean, with your skill set, you could work anywhere, start your own thing even. I paused. Maybe. He said, if I were you, I'd be gone already. That night, I started browsing job boards. Not seriously, just clicking. There were roles that paid more. Startups with weird names and too many emojis in their descriptions, but none of them had the history. The roots. Norval wasn't just a job. It had been my place, my system, my hours of unpaid overtime, my weekends of testing logic loops, my silent victories. Leaving felt like abandoning a child I'd raised, but staying was starting to feel like erasing myself. Saturday morning. Emily made coffee and said, "What are you thinking?" I didn't answer right away. Finally, I said, "I think I'm the frog in the boiling pot." She raised an eyebrow. "You know that metaphor, right?" I said. "How if you throw a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. But if you heat it slowly, it doesn't notice until it's too late." She nodded. "You're not wrong." Then she slid her phone across the table. On the screen was a job listing. Senior Logistics Architect. Remote eligible salary, 118K, 130K. 5+ years experience. Specialty, inventory flow systems. It might as well have had my name on it. I looked at her. She just said, "I already drafted your resume." Emily's resume draft was good. Scary good. She'd pulled metrics from my old quarterly reviews, sourced the right keywords, even formatted it to match modern tech recruiter trends, all without asking. That told me two things. One, she believed in me more than I believed in myself. And two, she'd been watching this unfold a lot longer than I'd realized. Sunday morning, I sat at the dining table, Resume open in one tab, LinkedIn jobs in the other. A cold cup of coffee rested next to my elbow, untouched. I kept rereading one particular bullet point. Designed and implemented end-to-end internal routing logic, reducing fulfillment lag by 32%. That was my work, my code, my design. And yet, I had spent the past 2 weeks training someone else to take credit for it. I didn't send the resume that night. I saved it as a PDF, named it JD Final, and closed the laptop. Monday, week 3 of Dylan's onboarding. The office felt colder, not in temperature, in energy. The more Dylan took on, the less people stopped by my desk. At first, I told myself they were just busy, but when Rachel from procurement passed by with donuts and offered Dylan one before even looking at me, it hit different. He offered me one. Bless him. But the moment had already landed. I declined, smiled, turned back to my screen. That afternoon, I received an auto-generated email. Subject, System Owner, Transfer Confirmation. You are no longer listed as the primary contact for Routing Suite internal module. New contact, Dylan Price. No heads up, no Slack message, no warning. They transferred my system to him behind my back. That was the tipping point. I walked straight to Eric's office. He was mid-call, saw me through the glass, and held up a finger. I didn't move. He ended the call 2 minutes later. "Hey, Josh," he said, sliding off his headset. "Everything okay?" You transferred my system. He blinked. Sorry? Routing suite. I just got the auto notice. I'm no longer the listed owner. He hesitated. Yeah, that was part of the reallocation we talked about. We didn't talk about it. He sat back. Come on, man. You know how this works. Titles evolve. Responsibilities shift. Then why am I still here? If I'm not leading, not owning, and not building, what am I doing? He didn't answer. I said, at least be honest with me. You demoted me, Eric. Just say it. He scratched his jaw. You're overthinking this, Josh. No, I'm finally thinking clearly. He sighed. If this is about Dylan, look, the kid's sharp. He's cheap. That's not on you. That's the budget. There it was. Cheap. Not better. Not more skilled. Just cheaper. I walked out without another word. Not because I was being dramatic, but because if I stayed a second longer, I was going to say something I couldn't take back. That night, I sat on the balcony with Emily. She had 2 glasses of wine. She handed me one. I told her what Eric said. Her jaw tightened. Cheap? That's what he said? I nodded. She didn't speak for a moment. Then leave. Just like that. 2 words. So simple. So right. Tuesday. I submitted my resume to 3 companies. Real ones. No Hail Marys. Places that actually respected logistics design and didn't treat legacy employees like old furniture. By noon, I had one reply. We'd love to talk. Are you available Thursday for a quick intro? I was. God, I was. That afternoon, Dylan asked to meet in the break room. He looked nervous. I brought my coffee. He had one of those fizzy canned drinks. Everything okay? I asked. He scratched the back of his head. I wanted to check if I did something wrong. What do you mean? Well, the system transfer. I thought you were like stepping back, but now people are weird around me, and you seem mad. I sat down. I'm not mad at you, Dylan. He looked relieved. I added, but yeah, I was stepping back because they pushed me back. Oh, none of this was my idea? He nodded slowly. I figured. I mean, it's weird that I'm being called lead when you're still here. I looked at him. Did they give you the title? He hesitated. Unofficially, Eric said it's in motion. Of course he did. Before I left for the day, I cleared half my desk. Just the non-essentials. The old coffee mug, my mechanical keyboard, the framed photo of Emily and me from our trip to Charleston. I left the rest, just in case. Wednesday. My phone buzzed at 9:30. Your Thursday interview has been confirmed. Link attached. That day, I felt different. Lighter, maybe even dangerous. Dylan came by at noon with a question about the fulfillment time slot override. I walked him through it. He said, man, you know this stuff cold? Like, I don't know how they thought I could just walk in and handle all this. I smiled. You'll get there. And I meant it. I really did. He wasn't the enemy. He was a symptom. Thursday, interview day. I wore a button-down, worked remotely, claimed I had plumbing stuff in the morning. No one cared enough to check. The interview was with a woman named Priya from a firm in Denver. She was sharp, warm, and actually seemed to know what the hell she was talking about. Your work with Routing Suite is really impressive, she said. Thanks. We're looking for someone who can build something similar, but from the ground up. My kind of job? I asked about autonomy, ownership, team culture. She answered every question like someone who didn't need to spin it. At the end, she said, would you be open to a second round with our VP of Ops? Yes. 1,000 times yes. That night, I told Emily. She grinned, kissed me, poured wine. We sat on the couch, both quiet, both hoping, both knowing something had shifted. Friday. I came into the office like normal, but nothing felt normal anymore. Dylan wasn't at his desk. Eric was in a strategy offsite. The place felt hollow. Around 11, I got a Slack ping from Janelle in payroll. Hey, Josh. Weird question. Did you mean to opt out of your bonus deferral? Just checking. I frowned. I hadn't touched anything. I opened the dashboard. My bonus profile bay, the one I'd meticulously tracked for years, was blank. Wiped. Just like that. No email, no heads up. I walked back to my desk, sat down, breathed, and started drafting my resignation. It wasn't angry, no rants, no accusations, just facts. After 12 years at Norval, I've decided to pursue a new opportunity. I'm grateful for the chance to have built systems that help define our internal logistics and proud of what our team accomplished during my tenure. I will be available to assist with any final documentation needs during my 2-week transition period. Josh Delaney. I read it 3 times, then hit send, to HR, to Eric, to myself. The moment I hit send, I expected something dramatic. An immediate Slack ping from Eric, a phone call, maybe even a walk-by from HR, but nothing happened. No dings, no "are you sure" messages, no alarms, just silence, the kind that feels heavier than noise. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the gray acoustic tiles above me. One of them had a coffee stain in the corner, old, circular, faint. I'd noticed it 100 times before, but this time it felt symbolic, like my career here was a ring left behind. Visible, permanent, and ultimately ignored. I didn't log out of my systems right away. Not out of hesitation, out of a strange kind of mourning. 12 years at Norval had left invisible threads tied to everything. The dashboard shortcuts I built, the way the printers were mapped, the slightly slower left elevator that only I avoided. It was 1,000 invisible comforts I wouldn't have at the next place. I opened the internal wiki and started writing documentation. Not because they asked, because I needed to close the loop myself. An hour later, Dylan popped by with a bag of chips and an innocent question about Q reassignment rules. I turned from my screen slowly. I won't be your point of contact for that anymore. His eyes widened. Wait, what? I submitted my resignation. He froze, holding the bag like it was suddenly too heavy. Today? Just now. Man, I didn't know you were even considering that. I smiled, not unkindly. Neither did they. He sat down without asking. Are you serious? I'm not the type to bluff. He leaned forward. Was it me? Did I? No, I cut him off. It was them. That seemed to relieve him. Then he frowned. But what about the system? No offense, but I'm not ready to own all of it. I don't know half the override logic. I nodded. I've been leaving documentation, but if you hit a wall, call me. I'll help. For a few weeks. He looked like he wanted to say something more, something big, but couldn't find the words. Instead, he stood up and said, They don't deserve you. Monday morning, the news had spread. Not officially. Eric hadn't sent a company-wide email, but word travels fast in open plan offices. Rachel from procurement swung by with a confused expression. You're leaving? Yep. She looked around. But who's taking over? Guess you'll have to ask Eric. She winced. Well, I just hope they know what they're doing. That backorder logic saved our entire Q4 last year. I remember. By noon, I had received 2 emails from internal team members. I heard the news. Please know you were the reason I stayed sane during onboarding. Josh, this place is worse without your voice in the room. Let me know where you land. I might follow. Eric didn't say a word until Tuesday. He stopped by casually, sipping from his Norval-branded thermos. "Hey." I looked up. "Hey. So, saw your note." "Yeah." He nodded, pretending it wasn't awkward. "I was going to talk to you about transition planning." "I've already started." "Oh, great." He stood there, unsure what to say. Then, "Is there anything I could have done to change your mind?" I thought about it. Then I said, "You could have told me the truth." He blinked. "About?" "That I was being replaced before you asked me to train the guy." Silence. I added, "It wasn't the demotion, Eric. It was the disrespect." He exhaled slowly. "Fair enough." Then he turned and walked away. No apology, no self-reflection, just a quiet exit from a man who never knew how to face what he caused. Wednesday, exit interview day. HR sent a form with the usual questions. Why are you leaving? What did you value about your time here? What would you improve? I typed only 3 lines. I'm leaving because trust is harder to rebuild than a system. I valued the team more than the title. I would improve transparency at all levels, especially the ones that pretend to protect culture. I clicked submit. Didn't even bother saving a copy. That night, Emily took me out for sushi, our little ritual for change milestones. We sat at the bar, ordered too much, and toasted with sake. To new systems, she said. To better managers, I replied. We both laughed. But under it was a strange, quiet tension. I wasn't scared, but I was no longer sure who I was without Norval. Thursday, final day. I came in early, printed my badge return form, dropped off my keycard, cleared my desk completely, even left a sticky note on the monitor for Dylan. You've got this. Trust the logic. JD. It wasn't about being gracious. It was about being done. Completely. No loose threads. At 4:45 p.m., as I was packing my jacket, Dylan came by again. This time he looked older. Not physically, but in his eyes. Just wanted to say thanks, he said. I nodded. You'll do fine. He shook his head. I'm gonna try, but they threw you away too fast. I shrugged. Some places can't tell the difference between expensive and essential. As I walked out of the building for the last time, the automatic doors slid open with that familiar hiss. Behind me, years of memory. In front of me, possibility. I stepped into the parking lot, took one deep breath, and kept walking. No regrets, no goodbye emails, no final glances. 2 weeks after I left Norval, I got a message from an unknown number. Routing queue broke. No one knows what's wrong. Dylan says it's the backorder cascade logic. Can you call? I stared at the screen, half amused, half exhausted. I didn't respond. I was already a week into my new role by then. Senior logistics architect, remote first, based out of Denver. I worked from home, wore socks with holes, and scheduled calls around when Emily and I felt like cooking breakfast together. The first few days felt like walking into a new school mid-semester. Everyone knew each other, the systems were unfamiliar, and the culture was still half-coded in jargon I didn't speak yet. But no one talked down to me. No one called me old guard or referred to my salary as overhead. Instead, they said things like, Josh, we trust your judgment. Run with this however you want. You built Norval's routing engine? That's impressive. Not flattery, just recognition, the kind I hadn't realized I'd been starving for. Emily and I created a new routine. Mornings started slow. Coffee, short walk, NPR playing quietly in the background. She took up watercolor again. I learned how to make sourdough from scratch. I failed 4 times before it even looked edible. Some nights, we didn't talk about work at all. Other nights we did, but with curiosity, not dread. Freedom has a way of making space for joy you forgot was missing. About a month into my new job, I received an email from Dylan. Subject: Quick hello plus update. Hey Josh, I hope you're doing well. Just wanted to say the past few weeks have been rough. I never realized how much you were holding together until you were gone. They've already brought in a contractor to support me, but really, I think they're looking to replace me too. You were right. It was never about capability, just cost. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for training me, for being decent, for not laughing when I got too confident too fast. Hope your new gig is treating you better. Dylan. I read it twice, then closed it. Didn't reply right away, not because I didn't appreciate it, but because it still stung. That someone had finally said what I needed to hear, just a little too late. 2 more months passed. Norval posted a job listing. Lead systems analyst, urgent backfill, contract to perm. Same role I'd left, same salary range, only now they were desperate. Funny how that works. I don't hate them. Not anymore. I think Eric was scared. Of budget, of metrics, of looking replaceable himself. I think Denise was just another cog in a machine built to silence confrontation with buzzwords and vague nods to scope shifts. It doesn't make it right, but it makes it human. And that, somehow, makes it easier to move forward. The last time I thought about Norval in a bitter way was on a Tuesday afternoon when I was cleaning out my old Dropbox. I found the original whiteboard sketch I'd taken a photo of, the one that became Routing Suite. It was just lines and arrows, bad handwriting, and a note in the corner that said, "Build it once, build it right." That version of me, the guy who wrote that, he was still here. He'd just outgrown the walls they tried to keep him inside. I printed the sketch, framed it, hung it above my new desk, not as a reminder of Norval, but as proof that legacy isn't always what we leave behind in systems. Sometimes it's what we carry forward into whatever we build next. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.